chapter 10 of NCERT book, and this chapter is found in all the boards. So this is an important topic which I will explain. So stay connected and subscribe the channel. You will be notified of all the new topics which are there. Let's start. In this topic we will read what is gravitation, and all of you must be knowing that gravitation is the feature which keeps objects, and especially the celestial bodies, the objects which are in the space, in their right place. So the moon goes around an object. When it is thrown upward, reaches a height and then it falls back. It is said that Newton discovered it, but this was discovered by the Indian scientist long time ago, and Newton was probably the modern scientist who gave his views on it. And we know that he discovered that objects fall because of gravity, and it was found that the theory was that if the earth is attracting an object, is it possible that it does not attract the moon? So why it is attracting the apple and why it is not attracting the moon? So if any object is attracted by any object which has gravity, like earth has gravity and it is attracting the apple or an object which is thrown up, then it should attract the moon. The force is same. So Newton conjectured that the same type of force is responsible in both the cases. It is the force which is bringing the apple down. It is the force which is attracting the planets. So he argued that each point of its orbit, the moon falls towards the earth. This means, like, if this object is moving around in one place and we rotate it, when you rotate it fast, it will move in a circular path. Now if you stop rotating, what do you think will happen? If this object is moving in a circle and you stop rotating it, the place where you stop rotating, it will fall towards the center. So Newton also said that if the moon falls, if it will be attracted, then it will fall towards the earth and it will not go in a straight line. So it must be attracted by the earth, and in this chapter we will read that it is the gravitation which is bringing it. So when you rotate this object or a stone with a thread, when the thread is released, the stone is moving in a circular path. And since any object, you have read in the previous chapters that when any object moves in a circular path, it is changing its position. Changing the position means the object is rotating, and when it rotates, then it changes its path every time, which can be described as, if an object is moving in a circular path, so if it is left at this point, it will go here. If the object moves at this point, it will go like this, and at every point it will go in a particular direction. So what is this which is moving, making the object? If the object is thrown from here, left from here, it will go in this direction. If it is left like this, it is going in this direction. This point where the line is just touching the circle, if it is connected to the center of the circle, then this makes a 90-degree angle, which is the tangent. So it means when the object is released, it will go out, and this thing is seen in most of the firecrackers. When any object is moving in a circular path, if there is a firecracker and it is burning, then the fire is thrown out in a circular path. It is moving in different direction. Since at every point, at this point, at this point, at all the different points, the change in direction is taking place, it means whenever any object is moving in a circular path, it keeps on changing direction. So this point is explained in this picture, and the force which causes this movement is the acceleration. So the force which is changing makes the acceleration and keeps the body moving along the circular path. This is called the centripetal force. The centripetal means the force which is moving in a circular path and makes this object fall. If I stop moving, it will fall towards the center. So this is called the force which is making it move towards the center. That is called the centripetal force. And as I told in this book also, there is a line drawn. So when any line is drawn touching or cutting the circle at one point, then it is called tangent. This is something which is a part of maths in from the 10th class. A straight line meeting the circle at one point is called the tangent. So any object which moves at a circular path goes in a tangent. The motion of the moon around the earth is due to this force, and the force provided by the force of attraction of the earth. If there is no force, then the moon will move in a straight line. According to the Newton's law, now Newton gave some laws. In the third law, he said that there is a force and there is always an action and there is always a reaction. According to the second law of motion, the third law says that the apple does not attract the earth because there is the equal and opposite reaction. But according to second law, acceleration is inversely proportional to the mass of the object. So in this topic, there is a point which is called the universal law of gravitation, and here we will read what is that universal law of gravitation. So in the solar system, all the planets go around the sun because the sun is considered to be having the more mass and other planets are moving around it. So the planets which move around, they are moving in a path around the earth, and there is the law of gravitation which is described with this picture. In this picture, the bigger object and the smaller object symbolize two bodies which are having different mass. So let's understand the Newton's law, and in this, if we imagine that there is an object which is the sun, a bigger object, and there is an object which is small, that is the earth. So if this object has a mass of, it has a bigger mass, so if I call its mass is m, or let's say m1, the mass of the bigger object, and this is the object whose mass is different. So there are two objects whose weight is different, and the two objects are separated by a distance. The gap between this object and this object is r. In some formula it is called r, and sometimes it is also called d. So we can say that the gap between the two bodies is r. Then according to the universal law of gravitation, why is it called universal law? Because this law is applicable to every part of the universe. So it is called the universal law of gravitation. This law is applicable to every object which is on the universe. So according to this law, every object, if we take these two objects only, every object in the universe attracts every other object with a force. This object will attract this object with a force, and this object will also attract the other object with a force. And this force of attraction is proportional to, the force of attraction is directly proportional to, now there are two things. The force is proportional proportional, directly proportional to product of mass. Now, these are the two things which you have to keep in mind. It is directly proportional to product of mass, and it is inversely proportional. Proportional is the same, direct and inverse proportion. It is directly proportional to the product of mass and inversely proportional to square of distance. So if we take this, the force is force. It is directly proportional. This is the sign of proportion. It is directly proportional to the product of mass. We can say the two masses. So here I have taken two masses, m1 into m2. So we can say small m1, m2, capital M1, M2, M or M, it does not matter. There should be product of the two bodies whose mass we know. So if this is the mass of the earth, this is the mass of moon. If I take this is the mass of sun and this is the mass of earth. So it is force acting between the two bodies. The force acting between the two bodies which are kept nearby. Now two bodies can be planets. The two bodies can be two objects. It could be a small pen, it could be a duster, it could be a book, it could be a table, any two objects. So the universal law of gravitation applies everywhere, and it says that the force is directly proportional to mass, product of mass of the two bodies, and the force is also proportional to, inversely proportional to square of the distance. Inversely proportional to square of the distance means the gap between the two bodies is r. So there are three things being used here, m1, m2 and r. So if I use these in the formula, then m1 and m2 are multiplied and r is the square of distance. Now when you combine these two, the formula becomes force is proportional to m1 into m2 upon r square. I can write this way, or I can write it m1 into m2 upon r square. The force is proportional to product of the mass divided by r square. And when we combine the equation, the formula changes. When I have to remove this sign, when I remove this sign changes, and when you remove the sign of proportionality, it becomes g m1 m2 upon r square, where g is a constant. Now from where did g come? G comes whenever we remove the sign of proportionality in maths and in physics. This is replaced by is equal to, and we put a sign which is a constant. Constant means it is a fixed value. So the universal law of gravitation gives a formula which is F is equal to G m1 m2 upon r square. These are the mass of two bodies, and this is the distance between the two bodies. When you multiply, the formula becomes this, and this is the gravitational constant. And the value of the gravitational constant in different places. G is a fixed value which is standard everywhere in the universe. This G is calculated to be 6.67 into 10 raised to the power minus 11 Newton meter square per kilogram square. Now what is this? The formula. From where did this come? Newton meter square per kilogram square. If I find the value of G, the unit of G, G is equal to, let's find out what is G. This is a fixed value of G, which is the gravitational constant. This is applied everywhere on in the universe. The question is, from where did this come? So the formula is F is equal to G m1 m2 upon r square. Now since the formula is G m1 m2 upon r square, let's see from where did that unit come. Now if I find what is G equal to, I will cross multiply. It will become F into r square is equal to G m1 m2. This is a fraction, so r square will multiply here, it will become f r square and g m1 m2. And then what is G equal to? These two will come down, so it will become m1 m2. So in short, I can say that the value of G in the formula becomes G is equal to F into R square upon M1 into M2. Now what I am explaining, that how did this come? So this comes because the unit of force is Newton. Force is measured in Newton. So if F is equal to N, R is the distance and the standard unit of distance is meter. So it will become meter square. And mass is m1. This r is the distance and distance is measured in meter. And this is m1, which is the mass. Mass is measured in kilogram. So kilogram is the mass of first body, kilogram is the mass of second body. So when I use this, it becomes Newton meter square divided by kilogram square, from where this unit comes. So this is the universal law of gravitation formula, which was derived by Newton. So and the SI unit of G, force is measured in Newton. So when you will use this formula, you will use force as Newton. When you will apply the universal law of gravitation, then you have to use G, gravitational constant, and its value is fixed. In every question, you will put the value of G as same. In the next class, we will understand how do you use this formula and what is the use of this formula in physics. So stay connected with us. If you have any doubt and any query, please type below this video. If you have any suggestion, if you want any class on a particular topic, you can type below this video and your problem will be solved. We will continue it in the next class. See you. Goodbye and take care.